Okay, City Council, we are back in session, as of 6:15. Okay, I'm gonna ask for a motion. The city manager has asked that we move item 8A up in place of 7A. It's a real quick, housekeeping item. So with that, I'm gonna ask for a motion to second and approval to move item 8A up to the next on the agenda. So I have a motion by Councilwoman Garza, may I have a second by Councilwoman Hernandez, all in favor? Motion passes. Okay, item 8A, discuss and consider adopting accepting the donation of one 2018 Toyota Camry from Frio County. This is an action item. I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve. There's a motion by Councilman Gondeta, there's a second by Councilwoman Garza. City manager, you have the floor.
I'm gonna say a little bit, but if you have any detailed questions, I want to put our new chief of police on the spot. But this is my understanding is a donation from Frio County to the police department, for this vehicle. You'll see it beginning on page, it's in the packet, I don't have a page number, but it's the first item. In essence, you'll see the vehicle. It's a brand new vehicle. I think it was a seized vehicle, and I think they just want to donate it to the city. So I think he's gonna use it for investigation, but I'll let him touch on that. So anyway, that's the request. Anything else, Daniel, on your end?
Right, just because,
Sure.
the vehicle that it's on the agenda, it's a 2018 Toyota Camry. It has approximately 6,500 miles on it. It's a really, almost a new car. It's being donated by the county at no cost to the city. And this is something we can utilize for our investigators. Right now, we're having a bit of a mechanical problem with one of their vehicles, which is an older vehicle. And instead of putting money into that car, it's already old, which eventually something else is gonna break down on it. We could have basically almost a brand new car for nothing. So hopefully we can get this approved to help the police department and in turn help the community.
I have a question. Chief, is this gonna be an unmarked vehicle, or are you gonna need that equipment?
No, sir, this is gonna be unmarked. Right now, we don't have the intention, I would say, of putting any type of lights or anything. If any, it'll be something very simple and
Okay.
nothing too costly.
Very good, very good. Okay, any other council? Any other questions, council? Hearing none, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We wanna send the county a thank you, Fred,
Yes,
for that. We appreciate that. Thank you very much, Chief. All right, now we're going back to item 7.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman.
can you call for my vote since I'm on Zoom so that it can be recorded that I'm voting?
Sure. Did you vote in favor of the last item, 8A?
Yes.
Okay, motion was unanimous. Going on to item 7A, presentation regarding the proposed City of Pearsall annual appropriations budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2022. This is not an action item. I'm going to turn the floor over to the city manager.
Yes. Mayor and council, as you start looking and reviewing the proposed budget, I'm sure some of you all have already reviewed it, but I wanted to give a presentation just briefly. I try to keep it as brief as possible, to go over this, so you can kind of see really a snippet of what is all the budget includes, doesn't include, and things of that sort. So, oh my goodness, I didn't know all that fancy stuff was on here. You have, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the first slide, and so what I'm gonna go over with you is just some of the things initially what the council, in my understanding, the years I've been here, has asked us to work on. And then I'd like to hear some of the things that we may still need to work on, which, I mean, I know we're still constantly doing some of the things that's been requested of us, but other things that we need to improve on, which I do want to hear from the council. But if you go to the next slide, please. This is just basically listening to the councils in previous years, and then again current council. These are some of the things that came up. Can you Crystal? How's that going to work? She cannot mute. Okay, so our goal is then has been to provide a balanced budget, and to keep, and at least is my understanding, the tax rate, the utility rate at a minimum, change that as very little as possible. Last year, you recall, there was not a tax increase. As a matter of fact, there was a tax decrease last year. The tax rate, I believe, stayed. We, in essence, adopting the rate that we did. I think there was a net loss of levy, of taxable levy of about $140,000. In saying that, they've also been asked to secure and invest in funding for streets and drainage, increase investments in our personnel, invest in water and sewer capital projects, clean up the city, and have a master plan development. And I also included economic and community development, which to a large extent is part of the master plan. So you go to the next slide, Crystal. This year's budget, what's included in there, I'm asking for an increase of 1.3 cents of taxes, of our tax rate. In essence, that yields approximately, brings in an additional $104,000 in revenue, and $68,000 of that approximately will be utilized to pay our debt payments. We do have an ordinance, and you have it in your packet, of a minimal increase to utility rates. And that, in essence, this year, with the newest rates, should bring in again about $112,000. And we've eliminated in this budget five positions. Five positions were eliminated through attrition. So that means that we never hired those positions. They're currently vacant positions. So we have 2 gas positions, 1 right-of-way position, 1 street position, and 1 position of utility manager. Again, that's 5 positions. We had a staff of 79 staff members budgeted last year. We have 74 budgeted this year. And so with that, part of what you'll see in there are those decreases to those personnel budgets. And so I think there's council members that were requesting how the city was structured. There is an organizational chart in your packet that shows you a breakdown of the number of personnel per department and the number and the titles to those positions. So you'll see that in there. Healthcare costs, we anticipate that's going to stay the same. I thought that was a good thing for us. We are, through our health side, we are a bit risky, and I say that our population, as far as for health coverage, is a bit riskier than I guess other communities and other types of groups. So our rates in essence are, I'm glad they stayed the same. I think we're doing a little bit better this year for claims. And so we were able to keep that as, we've been averaging a pretty good chunk of increased percentage per year on our health insurance premiums. So I think I was pleased this year that that's gonna remain the same. We decreased our street budget by about $350,000, and I'll go into that in a minute. Sales tax revenue, we're anticipating a $300,000 increase. We budgeted last year a little over $2 million. We budgeted $2.3 million this year. And the STEC payment, that decreased about $650,000 compared to last year. So those are some of the big items as far as effects to the budget. So you'll be able to see that in your packet. And if you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to ask me, because I'm here to answer questions.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Okay, so you mentioned that the insurance is gonna stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I do notice on major medical insurance, we have year-to-date $6,000. This particular department has utilized $4,000. And we're, on the budget, you're proposing a budget increase of $28,000.
Can you tell me what department you're looking at?
What page are you on?
Yes, sir. I'm on page 58, and we're under the general fund city pool service center.
Yep.
And I see the medical insurance that was actual budgeted for 2021 was $9,000. $4,000. And we have year-to-date of $6,000, but you are proposing a $28,000 increase. Please clarify where you say.
Sure. There's been positions added to that budget, and so what you'll see if you multiply that I believe that, if I'm looking at major medical, the 113, I believe you're referring to, I think there's 3.5 positions that are budgeted out of that, which
Yes.
includes our mechanic, and then there's our facilities folks, and I believe Yomi Carrizales, who works for Public Works. So those are the three positions.
Okay, so with that being said, our current budget's at 20,000.
Mhm.
We've already spent 53,000. Did we amend the budget to add those people to this department?
Those folks were, some of those expenses there's gonna be a reverse entry, some of those positions shouldn't have been paid out of that budget. So what we're gonna do is,
And why was that paid out of that budget?
because there was an error.
Huh?
There was an error. Can I finish the presentation?
Yeah, Councilwoman, we're gonna allow him to go ahead and please write any other questions you may have, and we can pick it up as soon as he gets finished with this presentation.
I'll finish some of this stuff, and hopefully it sheds a little light on some things. Go to the next slide. This is, some of the resources, that we've, again, eliminated positions. When you look at the budget, you'll see that there's an increased fuel cost, and I think as Ms. Rodriguez alluded to, those increases are in that budget, which is the service center budget. You also have an increase, we funded, and the reason I put these here, and I'm asking the council again to look at this, these are services that are basic services, and we can talk about all other types of things that we budget, but these are our basic services, which is fire, water, wastewater, police, solid waste, the things that you really can't, in my opinion, live without. So that's why I stress this, these different departments. So I just want to make sure that the council's aware. We have decreased the street budget, and I'll go into that in a minute, but we are going to use the remaining bond money. I'd like to use it to continue with some of the street work. And then the police department currently is funded at $1.74 million, is the current budget. Now, and it's not, one thing I want to highlight on that, and I'll touch on this, the police department's $1.7 million, that is approximately all of the, well, more actually than all of the property tax we bring in for maintenance and operation. So if you look at your maintenance and operation budget, that department alone, and it's not to speak bad of it, it is what it is, but that department alone basically eats up all of the property tax. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. Just an example. Okay. Next slide. The council has done, previous councils and current councils, these are some of the things that councils have done. Again, the drainage study, and people will ask, well, why are we doing all these studies? They've done a project design. One drainage study project is currently under design. It's been designed, excuse me, and that's the 1581 drainage project. There is a design for that. So what we mean by design is whenever something's ready to go, it's shovel ready, there's no more, it's ready to go to actually bid and construct. So you have, in the drainage study, there was 10 projects that were identified, and the estimated cost for improvements to all of that, and we know we don't have $35 million, but that was the estimated cost to make improvements to all of the projects that were identified. What we're gonna do, we have a meeting, I think, scheduled for tomorrow with the Nueces River Authority, tomorrow, next week. And we're asking that they consider funding some of the projects we've identified through the state of Texas flood plan. So that's the significance of that study. We're hoping that we can get some sort of loan program or any grant for some of these improvements. That's in essence what we're gonna try to do with the Nueces River Authority. The good thing for us is that we have done some analysis and some study on some of the projects that we've identified. So, can you go to the next slide, Kristen? These are some of the, as we talked about ARP money and what we've done, how it's been utilized. About $609,000 has been encumbered for the design of the Business I-35 water line and our water model study. I'm asking the city council, to make some sort of determination in the near future. If we decide to construct sewer line out there, that all customers in that service area would need to tap into the sewer system. So we can go back with what's happened in years past, I'll share this with you, is that some folks have been allowed to opt out of not connecting into the sewer services, into city sewer services. The challenge we have there is we, the city, spend the money to pay for those lines, and in return, we're asking people to tap in because in essence, you've invested money into a service that these folks are not, or may opt out and not use. And we can't pay for that service or pay back the money of what we've utilized, whether it's through grant or through a loan, if these customers never tap into the system. So that's been something that's happened in some years past, but I would ask on that end, I believe, and I have to verify this, but I don't believe that there's really an option for not tapping into a sewer system. And what I mean by that is, if a sewer line is running right to next to your property, there shouldn't be an option of saying, hey, I don't want to tap in because I have a septic tank. I get it, that's what people want to do sometimes. But that's something that we, from a financial standpoint, I'm asking the council to deliver, because it is going to be an expensive project if we decide to put that sewer line in out there. And that what I'm talking about is that I-30, Business 35, that runs all the way out to, where's that?
Jack's Produce.
Runs all the way out to Jack's Produce, is where that line runs into. So we've invested about $2 million over the next 10 years to revamp repair our ground and elevated storage tanks. We're asking $650,000 over the course of the next 2 years to help pay that back, or help make payments to that work that's being done, or that's been done. Some of it has been done, and we've got another project on the way next year. About $115,000 is being utilized for a clarifier at our wastewater treatment plant. Hector, do you want to explain what the clarifier is for? What the purpose of that is?
Just like it sounds, the clarifier clarifies the water from, the wastewater from the, let's see, how should I put it without
What
the yuck factor? It separates the water, the bad from the good. That's basically what a clarifier does. And it's sedimentation over time. It's the bigger the clarifier, the better the result. So that's just basically what it does. It separates the good from the bad.
So you have that, you have the $46,000, we replaced 2 submersible pumps out at the lift station out at the wastewater treatment plant. We used $27,000 for water meter replacement, and we are the first tranche of funds that pretty much is gone, which is $1.3 million of ARP funding. Go to the next slide, Crystal. This is really, in my opinion, probably one of the most important slides that you'll see here. This board right here, the Texas Water Development Board, they are the funding agency for the state of Texas as far as utilities, particularly groundwater, wastewater. And what you see here, there's two rows there. You have, if you look at that, it says Pearsall there. You have the third, I think it's the third and fourth row. You'll see that there was an application that was sent to the Water Development Board for $13.6 million. And with those projects are going to be an 8-inch water line to the existing homes and businesses on the north of I-35 road, and replaces wastewater line, the water line the same. It also talks about Colorado Street, replacing the 12-inch main, and also has a new water well, a storage tank, and we go on and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go into every little, but it is a request for $13.6 million. The good news, and I think it's all good news actually. If you look at the rank, which is column 1, these projects are ranked based on whether they have a scoring system, and we are 59th on the list. So what I'm getting at is we did not qualify for this funding this first go around, but we anticipate seeing something sometime either in December or January of this year for a second round of these funds. all the folks that apply for this money, not every one of them is gonna use this money, so there's gonna be residual money we anticipate, and we anticipate being on the second round of funding. What I wanna point out to the council, if you look under disadvantage percentage, that's column, I don't know what column that is, 4, 5, 6, 7. You see 70% there? 70% would be, in essence, we would have 70% of that, that loan forgiven. So if you borrow $13.6 million, 70% of that's forgiven. It equates to about $9 million, give or take.